is sensational for Cincinnati. Mitch Hildebrand, the hero, and the underdogs have prevailed once again.
I would like to present the USL Regular Season Championship to FC Cincinnati. Congratulations to the players, the staff, and most importantly, the fans on a record-breaking season. Congratulations.
Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for your regular season champions, FC Cincinnati.
In a foot race, Cincinnati plays this across. Vasquez with the finish. Brandon Vasquez gives Cincinnati the 2-1 lead. A late breakdown by Red Bull.
Well, Dylan Nealis gets beaten, and nobody covers the streaking run. Unbelievable.
L'Oreal got under that. Oh! What a goal for FC Cincinnati! You couldn't dream that any better. Goal of the tournament. Maybe the history of the tournament. Alvaro Barreal makes it 2-0.
Acosta beats one man one-on-one and another. This is still Lucho Acosta continuing on. Acosta! Oh my goodness! A play worthy of a perfect 10 by Cincinnati's number 10.
Unbelievable. He's like a kid in a playground. He just picked the ball up and said, okay, you know what? I'm going to pick it up at the halfway line and I'm going to go all the way on my own. And you're thinking to yourself, release the ball now, release the ball now. He decides, no, I'm not having that. I'm going to have the goal instead. And I'm probably going to get the goal of the season as well.
Valerian looks to deliver, flick towards the far post, and it's off the line! What a save! That's a match-winning save.
He thinks that he's found the equalizer yet again, but Celentano just stays big and makes a massive save.
They have done it. Cincinnati, your 2023 Supporters Shield winners. A first trophy in their MLS era, and now they celebrate. Top of the Supporters Shield race since May. They never look back. And now a piece of silverware to show for it.
The Flying Lion says,
boys, hell is real.
2023 Supporter Shield champs.
So glad that I can be back with people who know that it's a Flying Lion.
It shows how much we all love this club.
Yeah, just a fan of the sport, you know.
It's definitely tougher to be an Acash player than it is a pro.
In this club, you don't play just for the club, you play for the fans.
We swap car of the week, trivia question of the week. Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of the Flying Lion podcast, coming at you a day after unfortunate game for FC Cincinnati and the end of our 2025 season. Sam, how we doing tonight?
That's a funny question, Ryan. We're doing all right. Obviously, season's over. So you got to move on to the next, right? Off season is literally right here, right? That's how the MLS works. And so, obviously rest of the episode, we're going to be able to dive deep into some other things other than that game, and get past it. But yeah, obviously, not feeling the best, a little sick to my stomach through I'm sure every Cincinnati fan, right? I mean, what a weekend for Cincinnati sports.
Not good. Yeah. I mean, all around. Yeah. You're not wrong. It's never easy to talk about, when you go out of the season and you don't end up being the champion, but especially just like a terrible taste in my mouth, 0-4 at home like that. Just, yeah, brutal. So we're going to kind of go through a little bit of recap of this one. But like Sam mentioned towards the latter part of the episode, go into kind of some of the implications of, what this means, what this looks like moving forward for this team and this club. And then actually next episode, we'll really kind of get into it a little bit more off-season wise, timeline wise, what guys are coming back or not. So stick through, this beginning part here, and we'll talk about a little bit of some other things as well. But thanks again for joining us for this episode. And I mean, it really shows just throughout the season, we've had such good support for this team from a fan base standpoint. we deserve better, and I think that's what I can just say as a blanket statement. Like, we've had such a solid season. We'll kind of get into at some point, has it been exactly what we wanted, but we don't end up getting that trophy. And I think, that's what we're still chasing, at this point. But Sam, if you want to remind everyone what we got going on right now, merchandise-wise.
Yeah. So like Ryan said, quick reminder, if you want to support the podcast, these aired, last week, which was really cool. Our limited edition Flying Lion podcast shirts are still up on chatterboxsports.com/store. Every dollar goes straight to us. So you're supporting the podcast with every dollar. So if you use the code DOUBLE in all caps, you can actually get 2 shirts for $40. Once again, sale ends December 10th. So, we got a little bit of time. You can get the Christmas gift in if somebody's a big fan of the podcast. But yeah, grab yours while they're still around.
Yeah, I can't wait to get mine. I'm pumped to wear it. The orange one. I have a blue Flying Lion. I just want to get an orange one, so I'm excited about that. So Sam, we'll talk about a little bit, leading up to this game, Eastern Conference Semifinals, playing at home. This game was interesting. We had the light up wands was the giveaway instead of the rally towels. Did you get to see any of this? Or I think the Bailey, even beforehand, the waving all in sync around the stadium was pretty cool.
Yeah, I got to see a decent amount of it. Not a lot of the intros that I got to see. I don't even who pulled the sword, because they didn't post any of
that. Some random, I think he's like an influencer, but he is going on tour with like Lumineers or something like that. It's odd because, as you put in our outline here, Speed was in the building and was the ruler of the jungle for the Bengals. I was fully anticipating him.
Do both. Yeah.
Why not have him pull the sword? Like, I get a lot of people's hate towards the guy, but he's from Cincinnati. He is like the anti-Messi person.
He's in town. Yeah,
exactly. Would have been absolutely. He loves Ronaldo. He wore number 7 for the Bengals when he was the ruler of the jungle. It would have been absolutely perfect to have him, do it and then do the sui, whatever you want to say, the Ronaldo celebration. Right before we start this match. That would have been really interesting.
Yeah, like I said, it was just, he's there, right? Why not do both? But yeah, Ryan, I mean, obviously your vantage point's a little tough to see the Tifo, but you saw photos afterwards, pretty sick. I believe it had something to do with maybe K-pop Demon Hunters, I believe, was kind of the homage, but immediately I saw 3 people. So in my head, I immediately saw the 3 amigos, right? A little homage to Denkey, Brenner, and Evander, which was kind of cool.
Yeah, the 8, 9, and 10 you could see on it as well. The Forge for whipping this one up quick, all season. Just a quick side note and sidebar to them. They killed it all year long. We've hopefully, as we've gone along, put our appreciation out there, but we have the best in the business when it comes to that. And the Bailey is rocking no matter what, through thick and thin. Like, I think we can all agree that
people showed up early too. Bailey was packed 20,
it was
30
a good
minutes
look.
Before.
It was a good look. So we'll roll into this one. Lineup wise, since we had last recorded, Ender was the big question with his injury that he had against Canada for Venezuela. So he actually gets to start in this one. Sam, Gidi, was that the right call to have him over Obi? That was the other big question there. And then was Engel, fully fit to play? He had been practicing, but clearly, for a few of these, it was pretty evident right away that not a lot of our guys were maybe fully all the way there.
No, yeah. And I mean, it showed more as the game went along, right? Because immediately, Ryan, first 18 minutes, right? Like you're getting guys that are kind of just going off of adrenaline, right? Not necessarily, being fully fit. And then you get into the throw of the game, and then maybe, adrenaline wears off a little bit as the ball doesn't really come to you as much. You're not moving as much, a little bit more stale. But yeah, obviously the one that you're looking at on the team sheet there, it's Gidi over Obi. And I mean, you and I talked about different scenarios on, why Obi or why Gidi. To Pat's point, I mean, he felt like this was a good lineup. It worked in game 3. Why not, try it again? However, it actually, the starting lineup didn't really work in game 3. It took subs to come in and actually change the game. So it is what it is there. But yeah, I obviously hindsight, you're going, man, we probably should have started Obi there.
Yeah, I mean, experience is the bottom line for this one. I think like Gidi's been playing well during the playoffs, and he's athletic, and you can look at matchups all you want, but when push comes to shove and you need some heart and you need some tenacity,
Somebody who's played against Messi,
some grit, man, like we talked about in the preview, like someone that honestly just doesn't give a who this guy is. And it just seemed like there was too much respect on the pitch. Like go out and shove somebody.
Gidi fouled him and said he was sorry.
It's ridiculous. I think that the heart after the 18th minute just wasn't there, and they were like stunned that like it went up. It's like we had never been down before, and in the third game and the first round we came back. So it is frustrating. The first 18 minutes did look decent. Ender was working his butt off on the side there, got behind Jordi Alba, and then we went away from playing him in behind, which was unfortunate. Hagelin had played some decent balls up to Denkey. Denkey with some good turns, shots on keep. I think Ender's chance and Evander's chance, we had decent opportunities. I just think that we became a little bit too predictable. Like the first goal literally comes from Nick Hagelin playing a ball to Denkey. He did 2 or 3 times before, and their defender just steps in and reads it. Instead of playing it over the top or over to Ender, he plays it to Denkey, and our center mids are so caught up that they break and they counter and they score before we even knew what happened. And it's just ridiculous that Messi's an unbelievable player. He's short. You got to track, number one, their best player in the box, but especially the shortest guy on the field. Like, I don't know how he has 2 guys on him like that and drifts into space. It's unbelievable movement.
And gets a header goal.
It's unbelievable movement by him, but how do you give him that much space? Like, he's going to play it and run into the box. So it's mind boggling. And then it just seemed like from there, even the players had commented on it. They just felt like the air just got deflated out of them. And it's just unlike this team based on what we had seen in some other situations where they were able to at least have some fight. In this game, they had no fight, no response. It took like pretty much some of the, I would say, rest of the fans out of it. The Bailey was still rocking, but it just felt off a little bit. And I really felt like, Sam, would you say after that point up until halftime, like we were still decently in it. They had some really good chances still, and we were kind of lucky in a way, but hey, it was only 1-0 at half.
Yeah. And at half, we've talked about this for a while, right? Where FC Cincinnati will go down, 1-0 at half or something. And we always ask the question, right? What does Pat say, right?
Mm-hmm.
What does he say in the locker room? Sometimes we give him credit, right, when they come out firing, and other times when they don't. Like, it's like, why didn't you say anything, right? So it's interesting. However, Pat likes to say that this team doesn't need any extra motivation. He's been saying that since day one. He's been saying that since they got into the playoffs as well. So he's like, these guys know what type of pressure is on them. I don't, like, whatever I say isn't going to add anything, which you'd be surprised as the leader of a team how much your words can do. So I'm hoping like he said nothing, because if he said something and then they went out and still did that,
well, that's on the players then.
Yeah.
I mean, you can say everything you want, but if the coach is like behind closed doors just reaming them, at that point it's only 1-0 though. So I don't really think he has a strong message other than you're still in this, you're at home, go find an equalizer right away and make the difference early on in the half. But Sam, for me, the whole season long, if you guys haven't been listening to us, the most goals that we had scored against us came in minute 46 through 60 the entire season long. So what is that message coming out of the half to prevent another goal from happening, number one, into how do you go and find a goal? So it felt like all season long we didn't have that adjustment. So I think moving forward, that's an easy thing to kind of pinpoint and say, how can we be better out of the half? How can we have more energy in that situation? I honestly felt like that Obi switch for Gidi was the move at halftime. I had seen 45 minutes, enough of him to say he was a little outclassed.
He was giving the ball away every time he was in possession as well. So it was tough to watch.
The thing that's tough for me is the guy had traveled abroad to play for his national team and had just come back, probably on tired legs. Granted, he's 21 years old. Like, I don't doubt him on that, but he looked tired, Sam. He just looked like he was kind of going through the motions of things, and they literally just passed the ball around us. Our midfield got absolutely shredded, and I really felt like Obi could have brought a presence and set the tone for the second half and how we were going to move forward. And, I mean, past that point, we just get 3 absolutely deflating goals in a row. It really, the first one happens again as soon as Orishano gets brought into the match for his second game in a row.
Yeah, I know. I made it note of that right away because I was watching on Apple TV, and they immediately just panned to, oh, Messi's got the ball outside the 18, right? Like, it happened so quick because it was a throw in for Miami, and it caught everybody flat footed. And once again, you're just not able to you have to be ready for these moments, and immediately they weren't.
And honestly, shout out to Miami. They made the most of the half chances that they had. Like, if we score the half chances we had in the first 18 minutes, different ballgame. And we just couldn't capitalize when it meant the most. So, yeah, I mean, that's ultimately what it comes down to. After that, like, it's just kind of embarrassing. Like, I know Pat's making changes, but at the same token, like, would you have taken Ender out of the game, Sam? Like, some of the subs were just kind of mind-boggling. Putting Gidi, a guy who was exhausted and had been running around the pitch probably more than anyone except for Buka, to the back line where he's never played center back instead of like Flores or somebody else who maybe has even played there before. I know you're going for it. I know you have to bring on another striker and find a goal, but like, then it became 3-0. Then it became 4-0. Like, 2-0 is a little bit more manageable. I don't know. It's very interesting how kind of like desperate we got in some situations.
Well, in the latter half of the game, those 3 and 4 chances, Ryan, I mean, those were easy breakaway goals. Like, those were no content. And I don't necessarily put that on, the non-defensive or even this, like, that's on Orishano, who is a defenseman, right? Like, he plays left wing back, left back for us, and Hadebe, who gets beat as well in like both accounts, right? So
Gidi got beat on the one too.
Yeah, Gidi got beat on the one too, right? So
I don't know. I mean, I literally, the first thing I said is I could see it. Everyone could see it. Like, Gidi was tired. Take him out of the match. We saw he was tired in game 1 of the crew game.
Yeah.
Like, where do they need to have a conversation of, hey, like, player X or whatever, if you're tired, please let us know and we'll get some fresh legs in there so we can take advantage of this. It's just like, I don't know what we were thinking. Engel, we obviously had Orishano come in for Engel. Engel didn't look himself.
No.
I mean, that was
aside from the first ball, right? In the first 5 minutes, right? That was a good move by him down the end line there.
Yeah.
Besides that,
Sam,
I agree with you.
3 crosses into the bleachers behind the goal in the first half. 3 different times his crosses just were completely off. So, I mean, again, if the player is not fully fit, is it better to put somebody who can play with a little bit more energy? Like, I don't know. Like, it's a very interesting thing because I just felt like he was completely off. He wasn't going out to challenge balls. Luckily, it didn't lead to like their main chances, from his mistakes. But it was all discombobulated like the whole rest of the game, and it was tough to watch. I'm sure everyone felt that too, especially last game of the season at home.
The Ender sub, right, is the one that you kind of look at like, okay, like if we're subbing this guy out, we're not gonna win.
Sam, we're trying to save him for future matches. This is the last game. The player was absolutely frustrated by it. He's like, I'm the only one that's doing anything out here.
Yeah, he was best player on the pitch. I mean, if you watch the match, he absolutely was the reason that FC Cincinnati had any chances, like, at all.
He brought the most pace and energy of any player.
Yeah, and he won his matchup, right? Yeah. You win your individual matchup
for sure. Yeah. No, man, it was depressing. Bottom line, we've had too many games this season where we just got absolutely blown out, and that's not acceptable. But if we look at it, we finished the season overall 24 wins, I believe 13 draws or 13 losses and 8 draws
13 losses.
in all competitions. Last season it was 23, 15, and 7. So a couple I guess less losses, right? Isn't that what the total count is there?
Yeah.
But yeah, I hate to say this, it was Evander's worst game in orange and blue jersey.
Dude didn't show up.
The whole
Didn't
playoffs.
show up. The whole playoffs. I believe I put the stat out there on my own channel, but 5 career playoff matches. Dude still has 0 goals, and he was an MVP candidate in back-to-back seasons during the regular season.
Yeah, I mean in Portland, like same thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of insane how different regular season Evander versus playoff.
The funny thing, like it is like we talked about the buildup, right? Like what he said, what he said on the MLS on air, right? Their podcast that they do, right? He was like, "This is what we got to do. We got to beat the best player in the world, and I don't care. Like I'm going to take it to him." And it's like this guy's all talk. Like when it comes to the playoffs, at least, right? Like we haven't seen you take it to anybody. We haven't seen you with the energy to want to be out there. You're taking shots from 40 yards out, hoping a little dribbler is going to get by the goalkeeper instead of, trying to actually play your teammates. Like this is a big issue here.
I don't know what it is, man. I'm at a loss for words to why one of the most talented players on the field couldn't even connect a pass or yet alone beat a single defender, which all season long with ease this guy does. Like,
Yeah.
Did he get too into his head? I think that comes down to it. He was trying to make the moment, instead of just doing the small things that will lead to more confidence. And then he was totally in his head the whole playoffs. And it's really unfortunate because we needed a big time player to step up. The other forward, Sam, if we talk about Brenner, we talk about Denkey, again, there's a lack of cohesion, a lack of energy from those guys. At times when we're trying to build out from the back, like there's no sustainable way to get them the ball because one's on one side of the field, one's on the other. If you play with 2 strikers, play together, so that's an issue. We'll talk about that, moving forward and what that looks like. But from top to bottom, like it was just a mess. If we want to go into this here with their number 10, 22 goal contributions for him in their last 7 matches. In this one goal and 3 assists. Guy's just on another planet. I mean,
he's carving up the MLS.
Doesn't matter who you're playing. I mean, would Matt Miazga have even made a difference, in this one?
Yeah, I don't even
like
think
a healthy
so, yeah.
Matt Miazga, like a full strength FC Cincinnati squad. Like I still think we just have found this team when they were just on a heater. They didn't even play Suarez up top because they had been playing better with a 19-year-old striker.
Yeah,
it's pretty insane. But yeah, I think like we had touched on, the only thing that I could look back on and say is if you take care of your early chances, it might be a different match.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't. And for whatever reason, we just cannot feed off of our crowd energy in the playoff game and get up for that. If you can't get up for that in the playoff game at home, then when are you going to get up for a game?
No,
I'm asking some hard questions here, but it's the truth. I don't understand it.
I'm with you. It's a little tough. Obviously, you convert those early chances, right? Crowd gets going, gets behind you, and it's a different game, hopefully. But once again, it's after halftime, right? Like, what does the team look like after halftime, regardless if we were up or losing or tied or whatever? Because, like you said, Ryan, 46-60.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. Let's hear from Pat Noonan, Sam, Coach's Corner here. He had an apology to the fans.
Thank you to the fans. I know this is a tough night to end this way with the way we were defeated, but credit to Miami, they were better tonight, and it's a tough way to end it. Thank you to the players and the staff, everybody that puts in so much time and effort to make this an enjoyable experience, despite the highs and lows that go along with it. So I enjoyed this experience with this group, and I know it's a tough way to end it, but we all wanted do better, to play better, and to enjoy another exciting ending to a game where we continue to play, but that wasn't the case tonight. So to the fans, we're sorry for how it ended.
Accountability. Coach is always going around the pitch, afterwards, clapping up the fans for their support. He's always going to show some love to the supporters who put it, again, are there every single match. So I appreciate it in some ways, but, at some point the apologies have to stop coming in, and we need to see some actual results that maybe matter in the biggest moments. He's done it. I see a comment here in the chat that we need to come to accept that FC Cincinnati is just a regular season team. If this is the way that the league is and this is how we value things, it's just insane to me how regular season is one season essentially, and tournament style MLS Cup is just a completely different. Look at what NYCFC is doing right now. We'll talk about that here in a minute. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself.
Yeah.
But what else did Pat have to say about going to win some trophies, Sam?
We're playing to win trophies. So for me, there'll always be disappointment when that's not the case. And those are the expectations that you want to have and that you should have if you're going to be anything as a club. And we'll continue to push to make that a reality. The season as a whole still brought a lot of joy too. I think this, this club, the fan base, and we'll keep pushing to change this feeling in this moment in the playoffs.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Sam?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're trying to win trophies. I feel like that's pretty obvious. That's the goal there, Pat. But yeah, I mean, when you don't have the production, like you said, when you are characterized as just being a regular season team, I've seen twofold, right? Where I saw somebody that said, "Hey, we should appreciate the regular season that we had because some people, value the Supporters Shield more than the MLS Cup, right?" However, you still came in second place in the regular season. So
would our conversation be different though? I'm going to jump right into it. That as a big storyline here, another year of no trophies, like we said, not even, a final appearance. Yeah. But would the conversation be different if, hey, 2 out of 3 years we were first Supporters Shield and we were second, another year? I mean, that's a pretty good accomplishment in itself, but
you've got the playoffs there.
What does that win you though? We haven't won anything.
I think with the playoffs sitting there, right, it makes it look worse. Just in the American eyes, right, makes it look worse because you're going, yeah, fantastic. You finished second in the regular season, but you lost in the conference semifinals, and the year before that you got bounced in the first round. So,
hey, I mean, he's the winningest coach over the last 3 seasons of any other coach.
Yeah, in the MLS. Yeah.
We know how to win. It's just how now do we win when it means the most? And how do we prioritize that? I think we line ourselves well up for hosting home playoff matches and setting ourselves up for higher seeds or to make Champions Cup. But how do we now go and say, let's just go and do this in a tournament style? That's the difference. That's how we really separate ourselves. And I think it comes down to serial winners, guys that have done this before, guys that are familiar with this, bringing in some players maybe that, can see those moments and understand this is where we turn it on a little bit more. Well, obviously we want them to play with heart all the time, but how do we next take that big jump?
Oh, we tried to do that this season with Kai Kamara, and Buddy didn't have a single.
He's won one cup, Sam. He's won one cup. He's not a serial winner. He's got a ton of goals.
Yeah,
he's an experienced player, but I'm talking I hate to say it, but Darlington Nagbe. He's won 4 MLS Cups. How do we find that guy? Where you have an OBS person that when he's on the field, I'm scared to play that guy, or a Matt Miazga where we have some moxie. The other teams are afraid of the dark arts that FC Cincinnati is going to bring. Where's our edge?
We could talk about it a little bit more in the second half, but a guy like Thomas Muller.
I was literally about to bring it up. I can talk about it now.
We'll talk about it later. We'll talk about it later. But Ryan, another question for you. Where do we go from here? Right, we got 14 expiring contracts that we'll talk about in the second half of this episode. We've got, like people are saying in the comments here, right? Like a lot more buzz around a possible coaching change, even though, like you said, past 3 seasons, Pat Noonan is the most winningest coach in the regular season. Competition's not so much. What gets us over the hump? There's just a lot of looming things going on right now.
Part of it's luck, man. Like, I feel like, honestly, it's just gelling at the right time, having guys that don't have injuries, that aren't on international breaks. But, like, I think at minimum, it's a fight, a will that, like, I don't care if we're the most talented team or not the most talented team. Like, we're going to go out there and we're going to bust our balls for 90 plus minutes. And I hate to say it, it's lacking this season. And who keeps those players accountable? I think we need a leader, a true leader that keeps players accountable on the field. Pat can do only so much in his talks, but if you make a mistake, you better be worried that, hey, X person is going to come after you and say, don't do that again.
So Ryan, here in the comments, we've got somebody saying every year we put little effort into winning U.S. Open Cup when we, played in it, CONCACAF, Leagues Cup, and then under the excuse of, we're going to focus on the MLS Cup and the MLS playoffs, right? And then transitioning from that kind of statement into playing hero ball, right? It fails us in the end. Again, we saw this with Lucho, right? It doesn't win you in the playoffs. It doesn't win you cup competitions when you have 1 or 2 or 3 guys trying to do it by themselves. So what do you have to say to both of those?
First part is more, again, like a focus on competitions. Like, Pat tries to win every match that he can. That's just his style of coaching. In the regular season, he's not going to throw out, 19-year-olds like some other teams do to give them experience. But that's kind of to our detriment, because when push comes to shove and we have injuries and we're down the stretch, and you need those guys to be confident. And I feel like our bench, although on paper looks solid compared to prior years, they sometimes lack in confidence when they actually do get an opportunity to come in and to contribute in a big way. So a shift in focus from that, but again, like on the right things, whether it is like fight for every single ball, like make it simple, simplify, like kind of what we want to do. Is it go for the shield, or is it go for the cup, or is it go for every single competition we're in? I think that's easy to say, but like now the players have to want it as much as we want it. And I just feel like in some aspects, like they don't value Leagues Cup as much, or they're not going to value US Open Cup as much, or how do we get our foreign players to buy into MLS Cup more? And showing them that's what we actually want. But again, it's all about like what we want. They have to want it just as much, and find the right set of guys that can play for each other. I honestly think that's what comes down to it.
Well, you see clubs, right, in back-to-back seasons that saying again here in the comments, right? Like these other teams in the East have gone through adversity last year. New York Red Bulls, right, to the final, right? The adversity they went through in the regular season and then showed up at the right time. New York City FC, right, just upset the #1 seed in the entire MLS.
That's what it's so like. It's hard to wrap my brain around. Like, this is obviously the way that this league is set up, but you could be the best team all season long in over 8 months. That's a huge accomplishment to be that high and to win that many games. But it doesn't matter like at all if for 2 months you don't find it consistently and you just go on a bad stretch and you're out, or a team finds it and they gel and they just get lucky and they find their way through. Like, that's where I think the conversation needs to be switched. And we said it on the last episode, a schedule change in the way that we're going to create divisions and a break in the season. Like, I think you're going to see maybe more value as we align with more of the rest of the world are we going to see more value in Supporters Shield? This country is all about playoffs, like for every other sport. Whatever changed, that's the question. But if it is going to stay this way, then find ways to get guys going when it matters the most. Or is it just kind of fluky in some ways? Like there's a lot of ways to look at it. Your other question about hero ball is interesting, because I really thought about this a lot. We've seen it now with 2 kind of different alphas. Okay. We had it with Lucho and we saw hero ball. Now it's not just solely Evander, but it comes down to, it does come down to, though, if our big guys don't step up, Sam, what else do we have?
Mm-hmm.
And where, like, Evander was gone in the postseason, but Brenner carried us through. Like, that was a moment. So it wasn't just in that, but like, he's like our high dollar guy. How do we make the most out of roster spot 18? You know, a guy that is fighting for a contract and can come in and contribute in a meaningful way. That's when we win. That's when that guy wants to come in and leave everything on the pitch. That's when we win. Like, we need our top end guys to be in and committed, but we need everyone else to be that way as well. And I think, I hate to say it, this ownership's great. We spend a ton of money on the players that are very, very good. But if those guys don't click, we've seen it now in 2 different eras where it's led to problems. So is that a system issue then, Sam?
I know that's the question, right? More to blame, coaching or the top end players, and obviously you can't fault the scouting because the top end players have performed. Denkey performed this season, right? He scored meaningful goals this season. What was it? 8 game-winning goals, right?
Yep.
9 game-winning goals he had. So contributed. Evander, obviously MLS MVP level during the regular season. Lucho, unbelievable. Brenner, unbelievable when he was with us. Vasquez, right? Like all these guys, Bupenza, even shortly, when he was with us. I mean, it almost you want to point the finger a little bit at the coaching, because you as a coach, right? You it's your job to get guys to gel, right? The players are showing up. They are who they are, right? They're bringing their personality, their tendencies, everything like that. Is your job to mold them to your system, right? Or mold the system to them. And we've been molding the system to them, and that's been the issue.
Yeah, that, or like, Denkey was brought in to be the striker for Lucho, and Lucho was gone. So is Evander and Denkey the right fit together? We're going to talk about that later. But I think if you really look at, the Evander, the Denkey, the Brenner situation, and the top end talent, like I see a comment here about, having players playing against each other for personal records rather than championships. Like, sometimes are we out there just trying to, score goals to get our next move instead of actually, playing for each other? Like, I never would want to put that on the player, but there's been enough issues where we've seen Bupenza yelling at Lucho, or we've seen Brenner yelling at Denkey, or where guys just throw their hands up and are like, how did you not pass it to me? It's like, all right, we didn't get it that time, but go back at it. I know the player's going to find me the next time. Like, it just feels like it. Every time they don't get the ball or it's perfect, then it's disastrous. And then, we're never going to score again. And they just put their head down. So there's an issue with that. So I think that comes back around to leadership, though. Like, again, like a coach can kind of put his own emphasis on it, but I think in some ways you need somebody that can keep players accountable and say, this is how we play as a team. And you ready for this one, Sam? Moving forward, let's kind of transition here, something to ponder as we go through a trivia question. I'll ask you on the flip side, is Miles Robinson the right captain for this team moving forward? Think about that. Everyone think about that as you're listening here too, and let me know what your thoughts are. But I'll give you a trivia question here, and then you can tell me your thoughts, Sam, on the flip side. But trivia question of the week presented by Goals TV. Which player for FC Cincinnati played the most matches for us all season, all competitions?
I think I'm gonna go Buka on this one. I feel like it's relatively easy. I don't want to. I've said it before, right? That Ryan's been throwing me a softball and then I'd get it wrong, but I'm gonna go Buka on this one.
All right, Sam's locking it in. Let's see what he got right or wrong on the very end of the episode. Hey everyone, the Flying Lion podcast is your home for FC Cincinnati coverage as a part of the Chatterbox Sports family. We're proud to be a part of a growing network of creators who are building real connections with fans across the region as the game continues to grow and in preparation for the 2026 FIFA World Cup hosted in America.
Yeah, and if you're a local business or a brand looking to reach an audience that's passionate, loyal, and plugged into the city's sports scene, this is the place.
Partnering with us is not just supporting a podcast. You're joining a community that celebrates FC Cincinnati and various other Cincinnati sports teams as well. So reach out through our email, which is flyinlionpod, FLYIN lionpod @gmail.com, or direct message us on social media to learn more about sponsorship and partnering options. Thanks again. Thanks again for joining us tonight. Again, bummer of end of the season for FC Cincinnati. I mean, there's a lot to be like positive about, but just I still have like just a ton of this just angriness like in me as well. Like, as you guys can probably hear it in my voice, just because like I feel like we're so close in a lot of ways, but we always fall a little bit short. So, what is going right about it? What is going wrong about it? We could kind of nitpick and go through a lot of, all of the various intricacies of that. But Sam, before we do that in the next episode, we'll kind of do again a big recap of the whole season. I wanted to ask this question again for you, that I asked on the very beginning was, is Miles Robinson the right captain for this team moving forward? What are your thoughts?
Not for this team, but the Miles Robinson that shows up for the U.S. men's national team, that's the captain we need. Obviously, you saw what he said and what it means to him to be a part of the U.S. men's national team and how he fights and steps up for his brothers. And, he's right there in different moments. You don't see that with FC Cincinnati. FC Cincinnati Miles is kind of more mild-mannered and doesn't really go after players and keep them accountable. So that is, it's twofold, right? Like, if Miles is going to be the captain, I want the right Miles to show up. Not saying he doesn't deserve it. He absolutely does, right? Because you've seen the qualities, just not with us, right? So it's a little bit difficult. But yeah, obviously when Matt gets back, Matt Miazga is the closest thing to a captain we have right now on the squad. I mean, Hagelin, right, can also be up there as far as a vocal leader. He absolutely, you can't say there's anybody else on the pitch that wants it more than him, because it's his city, his club, right? He wears that badge with pride, right? And you got a guy that just won comeback player of the year. Like, you're telling me like he doesn't want to be out there and fighting for it. So yeah, it's a tough question, but I think that was a pretty solid answer right there, right?
No, I think so. Yeah, I think, like, to your point though, the Miles that shows up for the US team has like so much like heart, and the way that he captains our team, it still comes across, like, I'm sure, to the individual players, but is it the right captain for the players we have now? Let's say, obviously this is going to change here in a bit, but what does that relationship look like, off the pitch? How is he being a leader to the younger players? For me, like, an ideal captain brings a little bit of like the good energy and the vibes, the, hey, I'm there for you at the winning, but also keeps players accountable and is not afraid to be an a-hole to other players too, and say, I demand for you to be better. And I think, like, Hagelin would be a little bit too nice for that role personally, or Miles, like, maybe he's a little bit too nice in that and we just get comfortable. I don't know. I'm speculating, but I'm just wondering, like, how does this change? What needs to go? And especially if Miles is going to be a DP center back, we need more. We need more from that guy and from that leader, from that captain. So hopefully we'll see that too. But Sam, what do you have for a card of the week?
Yeah, coming off of a losing week, card of the week's first for us. So my card of the week is going to be the fact that Teenage Hidebe and numerous other FC Cincinnati players were exchanging jerseys with Messi after a 4-0 loss in the conference semifinals of the MLS playoffs. I thought Apple TV's Kaylin Kyle actually said it best, and she actually blasted Teenage Hidebe, after it. And I thought she honestly said it exactly how it was, right? This is embarrassing that you lost 4-0 and now you're going over shaking hands, acting like, you didn't just lose in the playoffs and are not going to play the rest of the season, trying to get this guy's jersey. There was 3 or 4 guys that came up. Obviously, like Orishano, it's, he's a countryman, right? He idolizes Messi. So, like, I get that, but you're talking about like other players, right, from across the globe. Yes, Messi is one of, if not the best player of all time, but you should want to compete. You should hate that guy. You should want to compete against him, right, to show him, hey, like, I'm here. I'm, just as good. I deserve to be on the same field as you, right? And you've got guys, like I mentioned earlier, in Gidi, who are fouling him and apologizing right away. I am so sorry I fouled you, and trying to help him up, right? That's where's your competitive nature? Where is this? And I will say, for the quality that Denkey showed, he could have been a lot better on the pitch, and I think he knows that. But I did appreciate him saying after the game, I don't care to have a Messi jersey. I wanted to win the game, and I didn't win, and I'm sad. So that's a genuine reaction, and more of those guys should be exactly like that.
I'm split, man. Yeah, I see your point. Like, I get, especially like just supporting your squad, your team, like, and you just got blasted. Like, you shouldn't even deserve to be on the pitch, yet alone to swap jerseys. But Sam, do you think like Teenage Hadebe, is he going to be with FC Cincinnati next year? Is this his only chance to do that?
I don't care. I don't care. You were on the same pitch as him. You don't
Samuel
have to
Gidi,
have his jersey.
21 years old, idolized this player his whole life. And at that standpoint, like, wanted to go up and say, hey, these guys idolize this guy. He's one of the best to ever play the game.
See, this is where I have a problem, is doing it on the pitch. I don't. Do it in the locker room.
Yeah.
Do it after.
Well, and like, were they even sad about the way that it ended?
That's what I'm saying. The presentation
more
of the
worried
fans,
to go and see who's going to get his jersey.
Exactly. The presentation of the fans, it doesn't look good. If you want his jersey, go underneath the stadium, go into the locker room, try and work something out there, right? Don't do it in front of the fans, because they are hurting way more than you are hurting then.
Yeah. I think just it comes down to, again, fight like for the city, for the people that you play for, instead of like, I don't know, again, is it just like
personal glory? Personal glory, Ryan.
Huh?
Is it personal glory?
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I've seen a ton of different takes about it from both sides. Like, just that, hey, I mean, if you were in the same shoes, wouldn't you want to do that? But again, like,
you gotta fight the urge.
This team. So
you gotta fight the urge.
Yeah. Yeah. Denkey said it well, though. I mean, like, he kind of leaves it all on the pitch that way. I wish his energy sometimes showed that a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I wish I would have matched it. But Ryan, card of the week for you.
Yeah, Wilfried Nancy is leaving the Columbus Crew, Sam. Yeah, not great for the Crew right now. Again, just shout out to Wilfried Nancy. I mean, he's an unbelievable manager, but it is kind of like us shoving them to the side a little bit now. We'll see what head coach that they bring in. But it is kind of funny to me that it is right around the time when they're making all these roster decisions as well. And so you don't have a set, coach right now at the moment. You don't know what players necessarily are going to follow this manager, or do you want to keep them around because it's going to be a different guy that's coming in? It's not looking great for them, in that timing. We're talking about this a day after we just got smacked ourselves, but it is kind of just funny that this is the next big news that happens, the following day.
Well, so the report comes out, obviously, like, negotiations are now being had, and he will be going to Celtic. But Ryan, I thought it was interesting that Nancy had kind of told the Crew, like, I kind of always want to make a move to Europe. Like, those were his desires of where he wanted to coach next. And when he was going to leave the Crew, he wanted to leave in the off season, so that way the Crew could, get ahead of things. But not how the MLS works, unfortunately, for the off season, because
don't you think like he's like not really understand, like at some point he didn't understand the MLS rules and was like, screw this, I'm out. Like, you saw his comments about like aggregate scoring.
Yeah.
Oh, we scored more goals than Cincinnati, but
he kind of just let it all out. Any frustration he had. Yeah.
Yeah. I, again, respect to him. I honestly would say, like, if he was our manager, like, the style of play is so much more attractive. I hate to say it, but it's the truth. But our managers won us more matches than their manager. You can't be mad about winning, but from a style standpoint, or having more of the possession and breaking down teams, like, there's a lot of respect from that, both at Montreal and what he did with the Crew.
No, yeah, I agree. Obviously, it's going to be interesting seeing what he does over there at Celtic. But like you said, even more interesting to see who the crew is going to bring in, right? Is this going to give FC Cincinnati a leg up, in future years? And the hell is real? Who knows, right? Obviously, we still got to get over our own demons. But Ryan, I think we can collectively move on and say our jersey swap for this episode is going to be Ender. Ender Echenike absolutely showed out, balled out, deserves to swap jerseys with us. So I think the way he played, like you said, down the right, he was unbelievable. And in the playoffs, really, you could say that he was our best player in the playoffs. I mean, him and Brenner up there, obviously Brenner in the Columbus series was great. But yeah, I mean, 21 years old, this kid's got a bright future, not only with us, but also the Venezuelan national team.
Yeah, he does. I think you're exactly right about that. And actually showed more maturity, in a moment where, I'm watching this match against Canada for his national team, and he almost looks like heartbroken that he gets injured. And he puts his jersey over his head because I think he's like so bummed that maybe he doesn't have an opportunity to play for us, in a playoff game. And for the guy, I don't know the extent of the injury, but to be able to come back and be the most energetic and player that's like going into tackles hard, making the runs up and down the line. Like there's so much to respect about that. Like that's the bare minimum of what we want as a fan. Just show us that you care. And this guy had an injury middle of the week and still was able to come back and be the best player on the pitch for the time that he was on the field, and visibly frustrated when he was coming off. That's the kind of player I want. A guy that's mad because keep me on the field, coach. Let me make a difference.
No, yeah, immediately. Like, obviously, his body language showed it, right? Like you said, it's a guy that wants to be out there, wants to fight, not only for him, but also the people that showed up to watch him.
Yeah, I don't know. It's it'll be interesting to see where Ender fits into this team moving forward. But very excited that we have him here now, and the next few years that we might even get to see an even better player because he is still maturing and coming into his own. But let's update everyone around the MLS here, Sam, if you want to load up MLS playoff picture. We do have NYCFC that upset Philly last night. The Supporters Shield champs go out. Again, just I think furthermoring the point that like some teams just don't play well in playoffs. Is this a Philadelphia roots problem now for FC Cincinnati from where our coaches came from? And, now Philly doesn't move on as well, and they just won the Shield. But yeah, so they lose at home, so they'll play at Miami, and then Vancouver is going to be playing the winner of San Diego and Minnesota, who actually plays tonight at 10 p.m. By the time you guys are listening, we'll know who had advanced. But I really wanted to highlight here real quick, Sam, if you want to. Yeah, perfect. We had the graphics still up, but Sam, I'm pulling for Vancouver. I stayed up and watched this game on Saturday night, and I just fell in love with the heart that team played with. Because again, at bare minimum as a fan, I just want to see players that are out there fighting for their team, for each other. They, at one point, in extra time, went down to 9 guys because they had one guy that had a red card, another guy that had a knee injury and couldn't even barely walk. They end up going to PKs and winning in PKs. Thomas Muller is hanging back, with the injured player instead of going and celebrating with the team. Because again, he's a leader and he's a serial winner. He's won how many Bundesligas, Champions Leagues? Like, I hate to pose the question. You asked it earlier. Man, would we have loved, a guy like Muller in the locker room to kind of get everybody to gel? But I want to kind of highlight this quote from Sebastian Berhalter, Goals TV quote that I saw. I don't know where to start. That's just the epitome of where our team's at and how close our team is. I don't have any words, he said. In the end, it's just a dog mentality. That's all it is. Go out there and win it with 9 guys and play for each other. I mean, come on, dude. Why can't we do that?
Well, we had a quote like that. You had Engel saying that, but not in this round. Not against.
Back it up, though.
Yeah, I know. Not against Messi. So yeah, obviously Vancouver's got a good thing going there. Hopefully, Ryan, if we're gonna, as a podcast, if we're gonna fully, get behind them, I think we should see it through, right? Hopefully they win MLS Cup, but they got to change the soccer atmosphere there in Vancouver. A lot of people, it's funny, Hugo Lloris came out, Ryan, and said that turf in Vancouver is way worse than lower division French leagues that he has played in, which I think it's just once again another excuse, right? That, Hugo Lloris is trying to give.
Him the game. Wasn't the turf that cost him the game.
Yeah, I know.
Why are we going to blame that? You've played on it before. Like, that just seems like a cop out. It's kind of hilarious.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's funny, but I do.
Sam, can I ask you, like, if we had 1 ounce of heart that Vancouver did in this game, like, I would kill for it, And I just admire what they have going with that, and like getting young players like Berhalter to step up like that and to have a quote of like, we have that dog in us. Like, who's our guy that has that dog in them? Like, I have some guys that's in glimpses we see it, but collectively it just hasn't fully been there.
Yeah, we some pups.
We'll see what next year looks like, but Sam, roster decisions are going to be announced by this Wednesday, November 26th. This is for every club. Club deadline to either excise the option or submit those offers to players, or to get rid of that player to free agency or somewhere else. Something interesting I found here when I'm looking into this a little bit more is that clubs in the Eastern or Western Conference Finals are required to submit all of their offers the day after their final match of the postseason. So if Miami goes out, hopefully they do next round, they have exactly 1 day to submit their offers. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Once again, Ryan, going back to the schedule change and everything, right? May not be a bad idea, right? And now that we're getting into the nitty gritty of the off season and just constantly looking at the flaws of the MLS and what we are and who we are. I just think that's crazy. That's wild, right? Like having to immediately go, hey, you guys got to make roster decisions now. Good luck. Sorry about getting out of the playoffs, by the way.
That's just insane. Like, they don't give any time to really, like, I don't know. I just found that, and I wanted to put it out there because I thought it was crazy. And teams that would make the MLS final have exactly 1 day as well. Like, how heartbreaking to lose, in a final and be like, oh, well, and the next day you have to also decide about offers like that. Like, that's insane. Sam, let's roll into this here. For what everyone is kind of wanting to know now, we talked about where does this go next? Who stays, who goes of the expiring contracts, especially. I think you have an overlay for us, which will be nice here, but 14 expiring contracts, 9 of which are going to again be free agent listed, after 2025. So some huge names on the board here, Sam, if you want to start us off.
Yeah, obviously the big, as far as big earners, right? We've got the first 3 big earners that could be potentially coming off of the roster this off season, and starting with no bigger than Matt Miazga. He's got a club option for 26 that could be picked up. Guy is still, 30 years old. But Ryan, is he injury prone? I mean, right now we don't really know. Haven't seen Matt Miazga at full health in almost 2 years, right? So this guy's making $1.5 million a year. So likely, if he were to come back, you gotta get him on a better, more team friendly deal, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think we'll talk about our stays and goes here in a minute. Let's kind of walk you through. We had Kubo as the next high earner, Hidebe almost making $1 million as well. Brian Anunga had played and started in 19 matches this season, maybe a lot more than what we were even expecting, but played in 30 MLS games too. Brad Smith, unfortunately, had a pretty bad injury. I don't know if we'll see him back, but Alvis Powell, again, just has been solid depth for this team. You can talk you want and nitpick, but has really kind of been there in some key moments for this team. Leroux has proven that he is that second keeper, maybe even, getting some shouts for, first team minutes in that starting goalkeeper spot for other teams too. So it'd be nice to protect him. Jimenez, another young player that I him and Kenji, both that I think we could both agree upon being back. But Kai Kamara, veteran player, didn't really see him down the stretch. And then we'll touch on our lone guys here, especially because these guys, 3 of them at least, were later on now, in the season, with Brenner, with Marzu coming from RSL, and Jabari. So if these guys don't have their loans picked up, then they're gone. And then Engel being the other big staple there. So let's start, Sam. Let's see what you got for your stays, or what guys are we going to bring back in on contracts?
Yeah, so I mean, I flip flopped on a lot of these, and my attitude could flip flop as well. Given the opportunity that Ryan is able to give his, but I believe looking at yours, looking at mine, we've only got like 2 different ones. So as far as stays for me, I think Matt Miazga stays, but I don't think he's as important as we think, right? Like you mentioned earlier, if Matt Miazga would have made an impact in this Miami game. No, I don't think he would have, right? I still think same outcome, if not maybe 2-0, 3-0. But however, if we can get him on a little bit lower contract, he should stay, in my opinion. You look at a guy in I think Engel gives us defensive flexibility. I think he should stay. He's also 26. He's entering his prime. So you really want to get him during that time. Obviously, Brenner wants to be here. It's a no-brainer to find a way. That's the biggest question mark, is finding a way to get him on this roster. Alvis Powell, good depth piece and friend of the podcast. So gotta say that. But obviously, like the way he can kind of be versatile as well. Like you said, Leroy, probably best backup goalkeeper in the MLS if you had to kind of put it out there. And then Jimenez needs more minutes, in my opinion, to be a formidable backup for Buka. So those are my stays, Ryan. If you kind of want to give your stays, and we'll go goes, or what do you want to do?
Yeah, I'll do my stays as well. A lot of the same. It's crazy to look at 14 different players, and a lot of these guys with like meaningful minutes this season for this team. So year to year, I want to put this out as a blanket statement of I hate having so much turnover. Like from last year to this year, so much turnover in the roster. But that's the way the MLS is kind of in some ways. And if we're going to pay these guys high, like, can we afford to keep doing that as well? So that's where we're going to have to maybe say, hey, I hope you've enjoyed your time here. Would you mind taking a little bit less to stay with this team? And that's where I want to start with Matt Miazga, because I love Matt. I think he has been just the model center back for us. He won Defender of the Year, but he lost a step this year. He got injured, and that's, again, part of the game, part of playing sports. And when you come off a major injury, it takes you a full year, sometimes longer, to become yourself again. He's 30, 31. So can he get back to that same level? I think he's got some of the components to do it. Sam, if we could even put him on like a right center back spot, would that even be better than, the center position, or even as a sub? Like it all comes down to if we can agree to a lower contract and if Matt's willing to accept that. But it goes without saying, the leadership qualities that he brings is unlike any other player we've seen, for this club. Even the way that Lucho was a captain and a leader was different than Matt. And some of our best moments have come with him. So it'd be a real shame to see him go. I see a lot of slack out there, and I hate to see it about Matt Miazga, because for all the antics he's had, for all the moments where he's not been there in the playoffs, like, it's not by him not wanting to be there, I think. From what we know, from a general understanding, from a public standpoint, I think Matt loves this team, and I really hope that can work out if it is best for the club.
He loves the city as well.
Sure.
You saw in that little feature, right? His daughter was born in Cincinnati, right? So obviously already it's got, a meaning to him. This is where his family is living right now. So it obviously, like you said, but who else is staying for you?
Sorry, I went on a tangent there. Brian Anuga, again, a guy that we brought in on a supplemental, just a great contract last year, but would be a senior roster spot position this year. So again, like, he's going to get a pay raise if he stays. Hopefully it is not one that sets us off. And for, again, a supplemental guy, I guess, or a guy off the bench, you don't want to have to spend too much money for, because we've seen how that's worked. Alvis Powell, I think, would be nice again for backup. Leroy, I've talked about. And then I think, it comes down to the lone guys with Brenner for sure. Engel's the biggest no-brainer of all of these because of all the games that he started and played. He's shown his quality. I think Jabari's earned a contract. I don't think he's our starting striker, but he is definitely the most energy we have off the bench besides if Ender does. And then Jimenez, they seem to really like him. So that's my stays. I'll roll into my goes, and then we'll go to yours, Sam. So if we look at it now, shout out to you, Yakubo. You had one heck of a career for FC Cincinnati, one of the most memorable players, but I think this guy's going to retire. Probably will go back to Japan, but leaves the orange and blue like one of the best citizens, in Cincinnati, but loving the orange and blue. He put out his post today saying how much he was wanting to play for the fans. Like there's one other player that had a post. So Kubo loves Cincinnati. I love that. I just think it's time. Hadebe, I believe, is looking to be sold. There's some rumors about that with Turkey being interested, even going back a month ago, if you want to go check some of our tweets. So we'll see kind of where that goes. But him swapping jerseys, Sam, does that again kind of tip his card that maybe I'm not going to be here that much longer? I'm going to try to swap jerseys while I can. Brad Smith, I think, is likely gone. And then Mamba Dem, I said gone, but I think he's going to go back to FCC 2. Kamara and Marzouk, because Marzouk didn't hardly even play, and neither did Kamara at the end of the season.
Yeah, not bad there. The only two that I disagree with there, Ryan. First off, on Kubo, like you said, I don't think he'll retire, but he'll probably go back to Japan and play, or if he can find a spot somewhere over in Europe. I just don't think he stays, obviously, in the United States or anything like that. If he does go, which, like you said, club legend, he really is. So Kamara, I think, should retire. I think Kai should probably hang it up. Ryan, like I said earlier, this was the first season in his career that he didn't score a goal.
That's
first
crazy.
season in his career, right?
It's like cursed. Like he was supposed to come to this team, and then we traded him away, and then he came back, and like he hit the woodwork how many times?
Clearly there was a reason.
Bad juju going on there.
Yeah, Kai and FC Cincinnati, I guess, just weren't meant to be. But I kind of see Mbomedem, honestly, taking a similar path that Ordonez had. I think maybe going overseas. I know he had gone to maybe like Denmark, maybe or somewhere over there. So I kind of see if he were to leave this offseason, that's kind of how I see it going. Maybe going to France, lower leagues, and so. Yeah, like you said, Hadebe, he's already been rumored to be sold already. So I think he's probably on his way out. Anunga, I honestly, this one's interesting for me. Like you had said, if he does come back as a senior roster spot, and I just don't think he's worth it because you clearly brought in Samuel Gidi to be his replacement already, even though Anunga was playing great and Anunga lost his spot and latter half of the season hardly ever played, right? So a little tough for me to actually see Cincinnati possibly bringing him back. Jabari, I don't know. It's a toss-up for me. I think there is something there. He showed good energy, good like hold-up play and everything. I just don't know, is there room for him? With Brenner coming back and if Denkey stay, like there's a lot of things in his way for him to come back, but I think things would have to be figured out before, and I just don't know if we have that amount of time, right, to figure that out. So
he's a younger player that for me, like put in a ton of work up top though, which as big as he is, like is kind of what we wanted with Kai Kamara, who's just like an older player.
Yeah.
So if you can bring him in on a club-friendly deal, like I think that's kind of in my way a no-brainer, as long as the players with like, okay, understanding you're not going to probably start because we have these guys, but look at what he could potentially bring. Like that's a different aspect, Sam. That profile, a 6'6" striker like that who can work his butt off, you don't see that too much in soccer. Like you really just don't.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's some value with him if they can mold him, and he's going to be at a lesser price than what Kevin Kelsey was, when he ended up going to Portland. I think that he wanted like $5 million or something like that. But Sam, this is really interesting. We want to give everyone who's listening some context here. Brenner obviously is on loan from Udinese, and right now, the question obviously is he going to stay? Do we have room? Sam, we had a talk with Laurel Failer about a month ago about this. We're going to roll this clip for you guys to hear, but it's pretty interesting.
But yeah, it'll just be interesting because it's like, well, if Brenner is here, then who's not? Because
he's not staying on a TAM deal.
No, I mean, the purchase option, from what I'm told, is about $6.2 million. So there's no way he could not be a DP next year. And my understanding is, like, there's been speculation that, well, maybe the league is adding a fourth DP. I've kind of been asking around, and nobody's, like, maybe they're just keeping it really quiet. But from what I can tell, that's not the plan. So we'll see. I mean, I don't believe that they could have brought Brenner back without there being some plan of, well, this could happen and you could stay. Like,
right.
So
especially with how much you're seeing, him being happy here now too, especially.
Yeah. Well, he wants to stay he's already like jotted down his goals through like 2029. Like he wants to stay. So
awesome.
that's great for FC Cincinnati because he is motivated. Like, you want a motivated player.
That's really telling. I remember a conversation with her and what she said, and obviously this has been about a month now, but you could see it the way he played then part of the season. Like, Brenner wants to be here, and $6.2 million is steep, and it would require a DP. So, Sam, if Brenner is planning on staying for several more years, what does that say about Kevin Denkey right now?
I know. It's a shame because Kevin Denkey just won our community award, right, for FC Cincinnati. So obviously the impact that he has on and off the pitch is, says something, but also Brenner, right? Brenner immediately got to FC Cincinnati, back to Cincinnati and goes to the Bearcats game, right? Goes to support the city. So you've got two guys that want to be your number 9. And right now somebody's number 8 and somebody's number 9. So there's going to have to be a fight for it, on the roster. And it is tough, Ryan. I think ultimately we'll touch on it a little bit more probably in the coming weeks, but you got to look tactically. You got to use your head on this one and not go with your heart or go with your pocketbook. Obviously your pocketbook says just sell Denkey and get Brenner because it'll be cheaper. But yeah, I don't know. It's a tough situation that FC Cincinnati is put in. And like Laurel said, there's not really any signs that the MLS is going to give us a fourth DP anytime soon.
Yeah. And besides that option, there's a lot floating out there. Will players that are in the World Cup not occupy a DP spot? Maybe that's why, Chris Albright made Miles Robinson a DP, because we're all wondering why. Maybe that's why. But the MLS comes out with their schedule recently, and none of our matches are going to be going on during that time. So I think that might negate any chance of that. So now we're looking at Miles Robinson as a DP, Evander as a DP, and is it Brenner or is it Denkey? And if you want to, I hate to say this, if you want to make your number 10 happy, look at the chemistry he's had with Brenner compared to Denkey, Sam. I think if they can get a pretty penny for Denkey, he's had interest over in Europe before. I think that's more likely. Another part of this too is Denkey is renting his house here. He does not own his house. So there is a higher chance that he is already thinking. He said it before we came.
You've got a guy
looking to move on. I love Kevin Denkey, Sam. He had 18 goals for us not 18 goals. He had 15 goals for us this season. I think he's a great striker, a great player, a great human being, a great representative of this club. But if we're going to have to move forward, I think there's going to be some hard decision that will be needed to be made about Kevin Denkey, unfortunately.
No, yeah, and it is tough. It is. And you don't want to sit here and go, man, we got to sell this player, that player, but that's the reality of the roster decisions that have to be made on Wednesday. So I don't, fault Chris or anybody that has to make those decisions, because it's probably really tough. You want all those guys, right? Can we keep all of them? No, you can't, because you made Miles a DP. So it's kind of forcing your hand. That roster decision that you made in the middle of the season is forcing your hand. But Ryan, to move on to, like you said, Denkey here, we've got some other names that could possibly, we'll touch on it a little bit more in the coming weeks, but little sneak peek of who else is possibly leaving this offseason.
Yeah, we knew Alec Can is retiring. That's pretty obvious one. We gain a roster spot from that, a senior roster spot that is as well. But Luca Orishano, Sam, that's the huge name. Earlier on in the season, I would have been on the hard no to have him go. But I think at this point, I don't know if he quite fits the current team and the tactics that we want to play with, unfortunately. And if we can get some money for him, I don't know if you agree with this, but I think that Engel might have won out that spot. If we can find another left-footed center back. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think the MLS just caught up to Orishano, if I'm being honest, right? Like, we saw him struggle on the left side, the right side, up as a striker this season. He could not find rhythm at all. Pat was trying to just, leave him, right? He left him in the lineup, and us going like, do we start him now? Like, he's where is he playing? Like, what is he doing? Whatever, right? And Pat was like, we're gonna just let him figure it out, right? Like, he can do it. He's a good quality player. We've seen it. We know it, right? Unfortunately, I do. I think that's what happened. The MLS just kind of caught up. They know his moves. They know his cutbacks, right? Like, nothing.
Do you think that Lucho leaving, though, we talked about this before, had a huge impact on him?
Yeah. 100%.
I mean, that's why his numbers gone down drastically.
Well, especially if he's looking at a guy like Messi as his idol, right? Lucho played like Lucho. The style that Lucho played with was like Messi, right? Very much in between, right? And Orishano looked up as kind of a mini Messi, right? Like, hey, I'm playing with one of the greats for Argentina in Lucho Acosta, at least MLS wise, right? So yeah, I mean, obviously we got rid of Assad as well, who is friends with Orishano. So I think if you're him, you kind of look at the writing on the wall and kind of go, man, like, should I have left earlier? In the middle of the season or even before the season. Yeah.
He tried at the beginning of the season. He didn't show up to camp. But no, I think that he just didn't quite gel well with our big guys. If it's Evander, if it's Denkey, like, there just wasn't enough cohesion. And now you have, again, another player that was built around Lucho still hanging around. And I don't think that's going to bode well for the future if Evander is our guy there. Like, that's the other big name, obviously, we're going to talk about is, like, is there a number big enough to tempt Evander to go somewhere else as well? He's under contract, but what does that look like? I real quickly want to shout out in the chat here. We had a point about, I just hate for Denkey to leave and go to another MLS club. Like, I doubt that Albright would ever do a catch for Denkey, especially like if we're going to like divisions and all of that as well. But no way, no chance. I don't think. I mean, Kevin had pretty clearly said like he's come here to kind of build his way up to a top 5 league, I think. But yeah, would you agree with that, Sam?
Yeah. He's not staying in the MLS if he's not playing for FC Cincinnati.
Yeah. So big news, like we said, coming up. This Wednesday we'll find out who's going, who's staying, at least from expiring contracts, and then we'll dive into it probably either later this week or next week on what happens with that. There might be some surprises like we had seen in years past. And as we go along, off season's going to stay wacky, Sam. That's just the MLS. But FC Cincinnati too also had some decisions coming out. They had a huge turnover, this season. Do you think we'll see a lot of the same? Do you think a lot of guys are going?
I don't know. It seemed like this past offseason, there was a reason there was a lot of turnaround because FC Cincinnati wanted to get their guys, right? Brought in a lot of guys overseas, and obviously some of them worked out, some of them didn't this past season. The notable expiring contracts, you got Tega Akoba, who had previously played for the Timbers first team. They had 3 assists, 3 goals, 1 assist in 25 matches. You get a guy in Yair Ramos, Ryan, who we talked about, honestly, a decent amount last year, had been called up to the Venezuelan U20 team last year. This season only played in 8 matches. So kind of fell off a little bit. So we'll kind of see what his future looks like. Andre Schirilla, likely to return. Ryan, I could see him in the first team next season, being able to compete with those guys. Obviously, we've talked about Brian Schaefer, being up there as well. So we've got FCC2 guys that are very promising that could make their way up. And then Andres Davia, right? This dude scored in Leagues Cup, right? So I could see him returning as well. This one's an interesting. The next two are interesting for me. Peter Mangione, he's been with FC Cincinnati, feels like, for a while. Very promising midfielder, 2 goals, 4 assists in 30 total matches. Kind of the glue to that team, if you will. I don't know. I don't know if he comes back or if he moves on. He's 23 years old. Will be interesting. And then, Ryan, you've got a guy in Noah Adnan who started Champions Cup to begin the year and then hardly sniffed the first team after that. So very interesting. And then obviously to round out the notable expiring contracts, Ben Augie, former FC Cincinnati draft pick in the MLS Super Draft, has an expiring contract. I don't know, Ryan. We got some interesting ones and some obvious ones.
Yeah, no, good shout for all of them. Second team, like, obviously had made the playoffs, but didn't go super far. Not as good of a season as they did the year before, but still with some solid individual players. How do they fit into the FC Cincinnati first team system? And well, the big question, will Pat Noonan play young players? That's the big thing. So I don't know if this is the coming year of like, hey, do we finally see Andre Shirilla and Stefan Shirilla finally break through and get some sustained minutes? Do we see Steven Jimenez, as well, a guy that had been playing on FCC2 for a while? Like,
what about Dotto? What about Dotto? A guy who's already on there.
We talk about, again, fringe players like that. Like, what's gonna happen with him? That's for me, like I was talking about earlier, is like your roster spot 18 to 25. How do those guys impact the team, and how do they buy in? And they just haven't been really shown any confidence to really say, how can we go out and contribute in a big way? So I got to see some progression in that, because Dotto had played well. He had a career year, and then just all of a sudden it was like, we're not going to play him at all. But, it's hard to get on the field when Evander's on the whole time. Like, so where else do you put him? So he's kind of in limbo right now too, which is interesting. Someone else in the chat here had mentioned about Barrial. So would have loved to see a Barrial or a Shano situation together. I think that only worked well if Lucho was around, unfortunately, too. But Barrial is going to be sold. I think there's a big rumor out there right now. It's going to be solidified pretty soon. But $4 million coming in FC Cincinnati's pocket from Santos for Alvaro Barrial. So even more cash, if we want to, think about that on the side here, that we're going to be bringing in for a player who is currently on loan right now. So he's for sure likely going to go, but we're going to get some solid cash in return. And how does that help our team forward? Find out next episode. We'll talk about that a little bit more. But the off-season timelines, again, we'll recap, this Wednesday and what happens with expiring contracts. But we do have free agency that opens up on December 10th. And then everyone's favorite, the MLS Super Draft, Sam, December 18th, the worst draft in all of professional sports.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that we've gotten very good with our draft picks, right?
Only the first ones, like from Pat Noonan 0. Murphy and Celentano.
Well, Celentano is the best one out of all of them.
Murphy was a starter for a while.
He's all right.
But then who else from the Super Draft have we gotten?
Ben Augie.
Exactly. So I think we've traded away our Super Draft picks for like GAM or
because
international.
Pat
spots.
Doesn't want young players.
Yeah, really what it is. Like, it's funny you say like he doesn't like young players. We said this a lot. It honestly reminds me of Gary Smith, the old manager for Nashville. He was the same exact way. But I think it's in part because our ownership invests so much money
now. Yeah, they want to win now. Yeah.
Then they're not really willing to kind of put forward, that energy towards younger players. So deeper conversation for a different time. But yeah, like we were saying, full off-season breakdown coming weeks. Silly season officially starts right now, but we'll see what happens the rest of the MLS Cup playoff wise as well. I think, like Sam and I mentioned earlier, I think we're both pulling for Vancouver now as well. But let me give you guys our trivia question and answer before we go. So trivia question of the week, again, presented by Goals TV. Who played the most matches for FC Cincinnati in this past season? Sam, you nailed it. It was Pavel Buka. He had 44 matches under his belt and mainstay for FC Cincinnati, our anchor in the midfield. Didn't have a great game against Miami, but I think Pavel's been there all season long. We can both agree that I hope that he spends the rest of his career here because we both love him. The second most matches for FC Cincinnati, Sam, who do you think it was?
Roman.
It was Evander with 43. And then with Roman, who had 41. So kind of interesting there.
Not bad. Not bad. Yeah, I knew it was a softball. I knew you were throwing me a softball on this one. But yeah, Ryan, obviously in this episode, we're running a tad little longer than we usually do. So we appreciate everybody sticking with us. And I just wanted to reiterate again, go check out Flying Line Creator T-shirt, right? Limited time only, perfect Christmas gift, etc. Go get you one. It helps us out. So we appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for your support this whole season. Checking out all of our episodes and listening to us rant on and on and on about this team. But
more
we're so
Ryan
passionate about it, just like all of you guys out there. It was a solid season, not the exact season that we wanted, but we go again. We're already, talking about the next year. So thanks again, and we'll see you next time.